Hey, kia ora. Helen Brums here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Welcome to Portrait Letters podcast number 2205. The bonds that, what am I talking about tonight? The bonds that remain. Sorry. This is part 4 of our, jeepers, my brain is like kicking me out tonight. We are doing, hang on, I got to go to my notebook here. It's all written in my notebook. We are on volume 16, Light After Loss, episode 4, The Bonds That Remain. My apologies. And I know I'm on half an hour early, but I am exhausted, and I figured I'm just going to go on half an hour early. My show, my rules. So our opening thought: when loss takes someone or something we love, what remains are unseen threads. Jeepers, I can't talk tonight. Bonds that time, distance, or even death cannot sever. These bonds remind us that love doesn't end, it transforms. And it teaches us that the bonds of love often reveal themselves most clearly after loss, surfacing in a memory, a ritual, a story, even in some things that you cannot explain. And those that experience those will know. I've talked to some people who go, I don't get any of those things. And that's okay. Some people are open to them. Some people are not. It's okay. Just know that your loved one is around you. They are surrounding you. They may be not here on the physical level, but they're with you on the spiritual level. They will leave signs for you. Sometimes you'll pick them up. Sometimes you won't. Connection doesn't disappear. It takes new forms in how we honor, speak of, and remember those we've lost. These invisible ties can ground us when grief feels disorientating, offering continuity where everything else feels changed. And believe me, it does. Grief invites us to recognize what endures is not absence, but presence of a different kind. There have been times when I can feel Brad with me. I can feel Gus with me. And Gus was the dog we had before Brad passed 18 days before Brad did. He was our dog for like 12 and a half years. Because he was about 13 when he passed, which was a long time for a big dog. He was a big dog. He was part Bernese Mountain, part Shepherd, part Bernese Mountain Dog, and part something else. He was a sweetheart. He was the dog of 1,001 faces. You could have an entire conversation with him based on his facial expressions. And our favorite thing to do with him is that Brad and I would sit in our recliners, and Gus would be sitting in front of us about halfway between us, hoping that because it was not 8 o'clock, that we just might give him his treats. His treats were always at 8 o'clock, and this dog knew how to tell time. Because we would tell him, come back in 20 minutes, come back in 30 minutes. It's not 8 o'clock yet, come back at 8 o'clock. And he would be back exactly to that minute. But we would sit there and had conversations backwards and forwards, and he had a black face with these tan eyebrows, and his eyebrows would go up to the side of who's talking. So if Brad was talking, this one would be up. If I'm talking, this one would go. And we would just sit there and watch him raising his eyebrows each side. It was hilarious. I never actually caught it on camera, I don't think. I have to go back and have a look, but I don't think I ever caught it on camera. But his eyebrows would go up and down. It was the funniest thing to do. But you could have a conversation based on his facial expressions. It was unreal. Zeffie had her rituals as well. And she has definitely made her presence known since she has passed. It's been 18 days, and she has definitely made her presence known. But they all, in some way, will make their presence known. When we go for walks, when Zeph and I would go for walks, Brad always had this thing about hummingbirds. It was his favorite bird. And there was a hummingbird would come, there'd be times that a hummingbird would come and hover about 4 or 5 feet, just above Zeffie, which would put it at eye level with me. And I'd immediately start talking to it as though the hummingbird was Brad, because I associate hummingbirds with Brad. I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I go to New Zealand, because we don't have hummingbirds in New Zealand, but I'm sure Brad will find a way to fix that problem. And so I would have a conversation with this bird, and Zeffie would just stand there or sit there and just wait quietly. She wouldn't make a sound. And there was this one time this hummingbird came over, and it was very gray on the front. And I don't remember what the comment was that I made, but it turned into the sunlight, and it had this sparkly red heart on its chest. And I was like, wow, that is so beautiful. And I thanked Brad for showing me his love. The next day we were out walking, and again, this hummingbird comes and it hovers above Zephyr eye level with me, and it's probably about 6 feet away from me. And it hovers there, and I go, and I look at its chest, and it's gray, and I go, are you the same hummingbird that was here yesterday? And with that, it turns, and there's that sparkly red heart on its chest. So there were signs like that came through. There were signs of them appearing in dreams and waking up and feeling like Gus's fur on my face or feeling Brad's kiss on my lips. Just things like that would appear. With Zephyr, it's been when I've been on the podcast, hearing the curtains squeak. The curtains would only squeak when she would walk under them to get in or out of the room. There's times when I go to bed and I can hear her soft snores. I was in then there was my angel that I brought on the podcast the other day, that twice now it has been turned on when I have walked out of the office into the family room. It's been sitting there on, and I haven't been anywhere near it for the entire day. And I know that I turned it off the night before. But I actually physically turn it off. I put it down and go, right, you're off now. And then I walk and I turn and I look back and it's still off. So I know that I turned it off. I'm trying to get into the habit of doing that because it kind of freaks me out a little bit when I go out and the light's on. I'm sort of like, did I not turn it off last night? No, I did turn it off last night. I'm sure I turned it off last night. So I now have this ritual of how I turn the lamp off. And then last night I went to sit down on my couch, and I have a 3-seater couch that goes this way, and then I have a 2-seater couch that goes this way, which has a blanket similar to this on it. And that was Zephyr's couch. She liked that couch. And the pillows and the cushions used to sit underneath the blanket, which would kind of make little pillows for her, just to reduce the amount of fur on the pillows and things. But since she's been gone, I've had it smoothed out. It's all smoothed out, and the cushions just sit there on top. But last night I went out to sit down, and there was an imprint on the blanket. The blanket wasn't flat like it had been. There was an imprint on there like Zephyr had been curled up on that spot. So she's letting me know that she's still with me and still watching over me. Some people are able to see things like this. Some people aren't, and that's okay. That's okay. If you're out looking for this, if you're looking for signs, they will appear. And signs are not subtle. They are obvious. They're supposed to be obvious. But look for them. They are there. They show us that they're present and things like that. There is stuff that will turn up at your door that you didn't order and you can't find how it was ordered, and that is your loved one sending you something. I've heard of people receiving bouquets of flowers on anniversaries and things, and nobody has admitted to ordering them. And the card that comes with them, and they may not even have a card with them. They're just this beautiful bouquet of flowers just sitting there at the doorstep. So I've heard of those sorts of things happening too. Our loved ones don't leave us. They are always there. So what happens when we allow ourselves to keep the relationship alive through small acts, cooking their favorite meal, speaking their name, carrying forward their traditions, honoring their memories in some way? We lean into the reminders rather than avoiding them, transforming what might sting into sources of comfort. We acknowledge grief as proof of love, not weakness, and recognize that the bond continues to shape us. Whenever I get any signs in that, I'm always giving thanks for them. Always showing always giving thank, saying that my heart is full of love and gratitude. Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping, watching over us. Thank you for reminding me of your presence. Just things like that. We create intentional spaces, anniversaries, rituals, conversations where those bonds are honored. Brad's birthday, I will watch a trilogy that day. If his birthday happens to fall on a weekend, it is open season. It will probably be all 6 Star Wars movie back to back. Volumes 1, episodes 1 through 6. Sometimes I would just watch the original ones that came out in the 1970s and the 1980s, which is episode, 4, 5, and 6. And other times it'll be 1, 2, 3. But if we're on a weekend, it'll be all 6 movies. Or it could be 3 Lord of the Rings on the one day and 3 Hobbit movies on the other day. There is always, because he was a big Star Wars fan, he was a big Hobbits and Lord of the Rings fan. That is my way of honoring him on his birthday. Also, the date he passes, I do the same thing on those days as well. taking his favorite movies and just watching them in his honor. On our anniversary, it is always Legally Blonde. It is the one chick flick that Brad absolutely loved. He could be scrolling through the guide on TV, and if he sees Legally Blonde, he would go and hit that button and press it. It didn't matter if it was 5 minutes, if it was about to start, if it was 5 minutes from the end, if he was somewhere in the middle, it did not matter. He was obsessed with that movie. He was and then, I don't know how many times he'd seen it, and then one day he turns around and goes, "That's where we got married." And in the beginning of the movie, where Warner and Al are sitting in a restaurant and they have the breakup scene, their table is sitting on the spot that Brad and I got married on. And so ever since he pointed that out, I now watch it every wedding anniversary. That's Legally Blonde gets played that day. James Bond I've always got my James Bond fest. It's every November. It's now going to be done in the honor in Zeffie's memory, because Zeffie would actually. I actually have in the 73 photos I put on that post of her passing, there is one there where she's laying on her bed on the couch, and she's looking up. She's watching a James Bond movie in that. So she became my James. Every time I put a James Bond movie on, she would lay there and watch it without fail. So she was obviously sent to me because I knew this was the right dog for me, because she loved James Bond just as much as I did. And so in November, we'll watch James Bond movie every night in Zeffie's honor, because she was my James Bond girl, dog. How we carry it forward, we do it by embracing the idea that we don't move on from those we love, we move forward with them. And I think I mentioned I wish I could remember who did this TED Talk, but there is a really cool TED Talk that was done by this woman whose name I can't remember. I can't remember what it's called. But she talks about how we don't move on from any event, any life-changing event. We never move on from it. We learn to move forward with it, because it will always be with us. And it's a fantastic TED Talk. If you, what did I put into it's on YouTube. I think it's called "We Don't Move On, We Move Forward." I think that might be what it is, but it's got those words in the title somehow. So if you get onto YouTube and have a search for that, then it's a really cool TED Talk to talk. By telling their stories so their voice and presence echo in the world through us, this is how we carry forward. We tell stories to the younger generations. If it's a grandparent who's passed, tell the grandkids stories about that person. If it's a dog that's passed and the kids are finding it difficult, help them to share the memories of the dogs. What were their favorite memories of that particular dog that they had, or cat? Get them to talk about their memories of somebody, or whether it's somebody who's passed or a pet that's passed. Get them to talk about their memories. It will help them work through their grief, but also by telling their stories, that person or pet's voice and presence echo in the world through us. By noticing signs of connection in daily life, allowing them to be gifts instead of coincidences. Like the hummingbirds. Those are a gift. And I always call them Brad's spirit. If I see butterflies, I say hello to my grandfather. My grandfather, when I was 7 or 8, gave me and I still have it. He gave me an enamel painted butterfly that had like blue zircons in making up the body. Blue zircon is my birthstone, and it's only about this big. And I still have that enamel painted brooch. But ever since he gave me that, I've always associated butterflies with my grandfather. So I always, whenever I see butterflies, I know that he is around. I know that he is near. By letting the love that remains guide how we show up for others and ourselves. With legacy, grief sharpens our awareness of legacy. What we do, how we love, and the way we show up will ripple forward long after us. The bonds that remain are not only what we hold for others, but what others will one day hold for us. And your 4 reflection questions for tonight that you can put into your reflections journal, if you just scan this code up here. In the description below, we have the chapter journals there, and there are still, we've got everything uploaded. We're just waiting for Amazon to approve 8, 13, 14, and 15. And then at the end of, and then this weekend, we will upload 16, which is this week. Let's see, your 4 reflection questions. In what ways have you felt the presence of someone you've lost in your everyday life? Number 2, what rituals, traditions, or practices help you keep their memory alive? Number 3, how does the bond you share with them continue to shape who you are today? And number 4, what story about your loved one do you want to make sure is passed forward? And our closing thought for this evening, love doesn't end with loss, it continues, reshaped, quieter, perhaps, but unbroken. The bonds that remain are proof that love is stronger than absence. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konera.